And we are off and a running with hour number 2 of the country's #1 radio show about the RV lifestyle. I am your RV wingman, doing my level best to keep the bogeys off your tail and help you avoid making some really bad mistakes when it comes to your RV. Now, this is the only show of its kind that gives you, well, we give you the good, the bad, and everything in between, and we introduce you to some really smart folks that have your best interest at heart, not simply the almighty dollars. So let's start out the hour this way. What does it feel like to get rolled? You know, to get taken advantage of, to be used. I want you to think about that. What does it feel like? What does it feel like to be used, manipulated, taken advantage of? What's it feel like to be tricked, to be deceived? If this is the first time that you've caught this show, I do ask a lot of questions. I do it in hopes that it helps make you think. So when you find yourself in a particular situation, you are better prepared to deal with it. By the way, the answer to what does it feel like to be rolled, to be deceived, well, it feels like nothing. That's the truth. It feels like nothing until you realize that the joke is on you, and that's when it feels bad, and sometimes it feels really bad. You know, when it comes to RVs, one reason many of us RV and we enjoy it so much is the feeling that we get when we're doing it. Not just when we're doing it, but the anticipation, the preparation, the dreaming of hitting the road, staying in a great campground with nice people, with your family, making memories. It's almost like thinking about Christmas as a child. RVing really does have an element of magic to it. But for too many people that get into RVing, they find out that they have been had. They realize that somewhere along the line, they let their guard down without even knowing it. And now they are stuck in what I call RV purgatory. I'm quite sure that some folks will misconstrue this hour, and you may think that I've got some personal vendetta against Camping World and others in the RV business, and I assure you that is not the case. And I hope that most folks understand the spirit of this story and that I am not on some tirade. I'm not trying to be a hero. I just see this as something that, as they say, well, it ain't right. So I actually learned about this story from a listener in Missouri that told me about this little old lady that had been taken advantage of by Camping World, and her family had contacted the Attorney General's office, and I got a copy of the complaint letter. And when I read it, I'm like, what? It's one of those head scratchers. So I start doing some digging. The more I found out, the worse it sounded. So let's bring up the lady who actually wrote that letter, find out what happened. Hi, Joy. Thank you for being with us.
Hey, Alan.
Thank you so much. I know you wrote this on behalf of your 84-year-old grandmother.
Yeah.
We appreciate you being here very much to talk about it.
No problem.
Well, you can start telling us about the letter, Joy. What?
Okay.
You know, seriously, I know that you did not ever expect to be on national radio when you wrote that letter. Maybe we ought to start there, how you and I got connected.
That's a good place to start. So I wrote this letter to the Attorney General. You know, I told my whole family what I was doing. Nobody really knew what to do. I was super frustrated, and I just wrote a letter to the Attorney General. Well, my dad gets a phone call one day from you. My dad's phone number is actually in my name, and I think maybe that's how you got my number. But anyway, so he calls me, and he says, this guy from this RV Show USA called, and I think you should probably call him back and talk to him. He wants to talk to you about this deal with Grammie's camper. And I thought, all right, so that's when I called you, and that's how we started getting to know each other, and you started getting to know more about the story and all of the details.
Let me jump in. So, folks, that's how Joy and I got connected, and trust me, it was not easy getting her to open up and tell and share her story, because it's to me it's a kind of it's going to turn into it's a sad story. And hopefully there's going to be a silver lining in this. But she was not seeking fame, and she was just trying to seek, I think, justice. Isn't that right, Joy?
Yeah, absolutely. My whole intention with the letter to the Attorney General was just to get, you know, somebody bigger than myself to, you know, say something to this dealership about the condition of the camper and, you know, all the upsales, and I mean, it's just a disaster. The whole thing. And
Okay,
there's so many details. I don't know how many you want me to go into.
Well, let's start out. I want tell us about your grandmother. What was it like growing up with her? What kind of a lady was she when you were younger? And take us there. I mean, introduce me to Mamie.
She was really cool. She was a grandma to many, many more than just us in the family. She was our Girl Scout leader. She is the one that introduced us to the outdoors and what it's like to play in the dirt and appreciate nature. And she was very artistic. She encouraged us to tap into that part of ourselves. She was an amazing person.
And so did she like to go on camping trips with you guys? I mean, is that something that y'all did as a family?
Yeah, we did. Growing up, we camped together. Like I said, she was our Girl Scout leader, and most of the camping trips that we did take were probably Girl Scout related, because she would take, you know, our whole tribe out there, or whatever you call it, and we would camp together. But yes, we had family camping trips too, you know, aside from Girl Scouts. But Girl Scouts is kind of my biggest memory. I feel like there was a lot going on there.
So
me and my grandma on the screen.
She was a very active, outdoorsy lady who loved to camp, loved to get outdoors, loved to connect with her family. And when did y'all camp last? I mean, you remember that?
I think it was about 3 years ago. We went camping at Lake of the Ozarks, and you know, that's kind of when we felt like, you know, Grammie needed to start taking it easy, because it was too much for her. It was too hot. She wasn't comfortable. Her feet were swelling. She couldn't sit for long. She couldn't stand for very long. She couldn't walk down the river with us. You know what I mean? It just wasn't an enjoyable experience for her at that point. So that was our last time that we took her camping with us.
So you could see the future she was slowing down. I mean, as we all will when we get to be, you know, in our 80s. So as I understand, last fall she started showing some changes to her. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but
no.
Tell us about last fall and kind of what you were seeing and what was going on.
Sure.
With her.
So there were a few things that happened. My mom had noticed that she needed to step in a little bit more in terms of kind of taking care of her and making sure that she wasn't being taken advantage of by, you know, different people. Like, well, she was too old to do some things around her house, like landscaping and projects like that. So she would hire people, and man, they were just charging her like crazy prices and really taking advantage of her. And so my mom stepped in, and she fired those people, of course, and hired somebody that wouldn't take advantage of my grandma. So there were things like that. But then there were also some things we all kind of noticed that her stories were like changing. They were becoming more like made up. And you know, for instance, can I go into the Canada trip just briefly? Or
well, you know what, I don't think we need to, because I think you've done a really good job of kind of setting the foundation. So now fast forward to April, and we have literally less than a minute to go, but an RV shows up in your grandmother's driveway, your 84-year-old grandmother's driveway. Tell me about that real quickly, and then we're going to jump to break.
Yeah, so my mom's on her lunch break, and she drives by my grandma's house like she does every day to check on my grandma and see if she needs anything. And there's a huge camper in the driveway. There's a guy in a car, sitting in a car outside with the car running, and there's a guy inside having my grandma sign all this paperwork, like a ton of paperwork, and my mom's standing there just dumbfounded, didn't even know what to say. So, and
that was, Camping World had delivered this $90,000 RV to the driveway because your grandmother couldn't even drive it.
Exactly.
All right, hang on, Joy. We got to jump for the break. We'll continue when we get back. So, folks, we're going to find out what Camping World did after that. What happened to this brand new motorhome? You will not believe it. Then again, maybe you will. I'm Alan Warren, your RV wingman, here on the country's #1 radio show about the RV lifestyle. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
The RV Show USA. Start living the RV dream today.
I am your RV wingman, and before we bring our guest back up, yes, I did contact Camping World in Columbia, Missouri, invited them to be on the show and give us their side of the story. I called, left a very nice message with the invitation with a nice lady at Camping World there in Columbia for the general manager to join me, but I have not heard back from them yet. Now, if you are late in joining us, we're learning about an 84-year-old great-grandmother named Mamie who walked into Camping World, somehow got to Camping World in Columbia, Missouri, and she walked out as the, get this, the proud owner of a brand new $90,000 motorhome. She was 84 years old, and get this, she couldn't even safely drive it. Camping World literally had to deliver it to Mamie's driveway, where it sat and sat. On our guest line is Mamie's granddaughter, Joy. So can you tell us more about the situation that they put your grandmother in? I mean, it was a $90,000 new RV, and they gave her financing. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm not familiar with financing processes and stuff like that, but I did notice when I was going through all of her paperwork after she passed away that they actually gave her a 20-year note on the camper, which I thought was disturbing, to say the least, being that she was the age that she was. I mean, I couldn't imagine her driving around in a camper for 20 more years, but yeah, so that was just one of the financial issues that I have with what they did to my grandma.
Okay, so Joy, hang on. Let's go back. So it's April, and the RV, the new motorhome, is in the driveway. Your grandmother, they're having her sign papers right there, and your mother is, from what I'm hearing, she was shocked. It's like, what the, what is going on? What happened then? When did you guys contact Camping World? Tell us what was going on there.
So at first, my grandma was kind of standing her ground. She's like, well, this is what I wanted to do, blah, 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 and which is understandable. I mean, she just went and, bought a camper. But after just a couple of days of my mom kind of sitting and talking with her, bringing up the fact that it was only a couple of months ago that my grandma was even afraid to drive her own little Nissan, hey, Mom, how are you going to drive this big camper when you can barely drive your own car? And just kind of bringing her back down to reality. It was apparent to my grandma that she had made a mistake. But my grandma was really embarrassed about having to return it. And she looked at my mom and she said, you're right. I made a mistake. I'm too embarrassed to go return it. You have power of attorney, so I want you to handle the situation. This is what she said to my mom. So my mom calls Camping World. Am I going too fast here?
No. You're doing great.
Okay. So my mom calls Camping World, and this is within the first week of my grandma buying the camper. Week and a half, maybe. And she can't remember exactly who she talked to. I think she said she talked to the manager. And she said, hey, my mom just bought this camper from you guys. She has no business driving something this big. She would like to return it. What can we do about this? And they just told my mom that the deal was done, sales complete, nothing we can do, sorry, that kind of thing. So my husband, who's 6'4" and 240 pounds, decided he was going to go into Camping World himself and basically just have the same argument with them. Hey, my grandma just bought this camper from you guys. She realized she made a mistake. She's in no condition to drive it. She cannot operate this thing.
And it hasn't moved. It's where it was delivered. It was still sitting, same spot.
Yeah, same
okay.
spot. And this is probably second week that the camper had been sitting in my grandma's driveway that my husband actually went into Camping World and talked to the manager. And they just told him the same thing. They were like, deal's done, nothing we can do for you. And so the camper sat there, and it sat there, and my grandma, my whole family felt backed up against the wall. There's nothing we can do. We can't return this camper. My grandma didn't want anybody to be left with the debt of this thing, and so she started making pretty hefty payments on it.
Was your grandmother a wealthy woman?
No.
Okay.
Not wealthy.
Okay.
I would say she had the money in the bank to make a purchase like this. When it was all said and done with and my grandma passed away, I think there was $17,000 left in her bank account. So, I mean... So
she spent just about everything she had left on this RV that she was not even capable of driving?
Yes.
What? Tell me, okay, so this was April. Your grandmother, I guess this probably became a very sore subject that maybe, did y'all even talk about it, or was it something you just kind of avoided because you thought it was just, it is what it is?
After she passed away?
Well, no, before she passed away, I mean, what was the dynamic, real quickly, in about a minute?
The dynamic was, yeah, we didn't talk about it. It was like the elephant in the room, you know? It was a sore subject, and it was very, very sad, I think, for our family to ignore it and to see the camper sitting there and to know that my grandma wished that she could have done this. It was sad. It was really sad. So
she was filled with regret, and now your grandma passes away in August. And help us understand. You know, I'm sorry for your loss, and it had to be very, very emotional. But tell us what happened then. I guess, is that what spurred you to contact the Attorney General when she passed, or?
Yes, and I have to tell you, after she passed away, within a couple of weeks, you know, we're still looking at this camper sitting in the driveway, and we're like, what are we going to do with this thing, you know? And I mean, I can't afford the payments. My mom can't afford the payments. And so we were like, well, maybe we could just sell it privately just to take care of, you know, just to get it, like, out of our way, you know. And so I went into the camper and started going through the manual and trying to figure out how to operate this thing so that when someone did come to look at it, I could open it up and show them, you know, how it works, and this is the camper and yada hey.
Right.
And while I was doing that, I noticed broken, just things that were broken, like the bathroom door wouldn't shut, and the microwave had scratches all over the front of it. I mean, not just like a couple scratches. It was like somebody took a scouring pad to it.
And this was supposed to be a brand new RV.
This thing is loaded. It's all leather. It had 3 TVs in it. It is like supposed to be a really nice camper.
All right, Joy, hang on. Got to jump for a break. We'll pick it up on the other side. We're going to find out what has happened since you contacted the Missouri Attorney General's office. So, folks, what do you think so far? Do you think Camping World is in the right? Or do you think that what they did to Mamie and what her family is having to deal with is uncalled for? Y'all watching the live stream, post your comments. We'll get to some of them during the break. Be right back.
The RV Show USA. Start living the RV dream today.
All right, Alan Warren here, your RV wingman. We're hearing a story about a family that has found themselves in RV hell, and they believe that Camping World put them there. If you've just tuned in, please check out our podcast so you can get the big picture, the backstory, if you will, on how this whole mess came about. You'll find it on our website at thervshowusa.com. We have Joy Olson from Missouri on with us, and we're learning about how her grandmother, Mamie, who had no business even driving, bought a brand new RV from Camping World. They made it so affordable for her, they gave her a 20-year note on it. Joy, that's just got to I mean, it may be legal to do, but gosh, I mean, does that not border on is that right or wrong?
I would say that it's wrong. it makes me sick to my stomach, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me about the emotional stress. You know what? Let me ask something else.
Sure.
They not only sold her a $90,000 RV, they sold her more than that. What else did they add on to the purchase price that she just nodded and went along with and add? Listen to this, folks.
Everything. The service contract, the paint protection plan. They sold her a plan on the, leather or whatever inside there. Everything. I mean, tire protection, roadside assistance.
Anything it sounds like anything they could add on to the purchase price they did.
You know, what got me, the roadside assistance was really disturbing to me, and I'm going to tell you why. My grandma was a AAA member for like 56 years or something, just crazy. She didn't need Camping World's roadside assistance. She did not need it, but they sold it to her. And I just, like, the fact that she didn't say anything, I mean, she was always boasting about AAA and how they've helped her with this and they've helped her, you know what I'm saying? Like, it all just blows my mind.
To put this in perspective, to put this in perspective, so she buys a $90,000 RV. She puts about $8,000 down. I think that you had told me.
$8,200.
You know, okay, for a down payment. But then they added these add-ons, folks. It was $16,000 worth of add-ons. I mean, is that right, Joy?
Yes.
That's just hard to believe. I can only imagine they were looking at her like a I don't know, maybe this is bad to say, but a pack of wolves, and here comes a little bunny rabbit that has no idea, and they are licking their chops. So
she was just excited. I can see her going in there and like convincing these people that this was a good idea. You know, it was a bad idea.
They're playing on her emotions, and she's probably, you know, I mean, she's gone now, but I imagine she probably dreams of the times when she was camping, you know, with you guys, when she was feeling good and she was younger, and she wanted to bring back those times. And they I don't know. Like I said, I'm no lawyer. I'm not a hater on Camping World, but I don't like to see people that are being taken advantage of. So what is the public reaction to your story about Mamie been like, Joy, so far? What's the public reaction been?
Well, I feel like for the most part, people are supportive and understand and want to see my family get some justice, I guess, out of that. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm not trying to like get $1 million or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just trying to make them do the right thing. And I am one of those people that if I see somebody being taken advantage of, I don't care how old you are, I'm going to stand up for what's right. And I'm not stopping. I'm not going to stop.
What has Camping World offered to do at this point? Because I know, let me just reset, folks. The RV, the motorhome, never moved in the driveway. About 10 or 12 days ago, I did a Facebook video on this, and I don't know if it had anything to do with it, maybe not, but coincidentally, after we posted this video on Facebook, the very next day, what happened, Joy? Tell us about that.
Well, they came and got the camper. But, you know, the thing is, it took me almost a month to get them to do what they promised to do, and they really only focused on getting the camper in their possession and consigning it for us. They wouldn't really speak on fixing the damage like they promised they were going to do in a meeting that I had with them I had an in-person meeting with them in October, which is when they promised they would fix all the damage, put the camper on consignment, not keep any of the commission on the sale of the camper, you know, and all of that stuff. But it took me forever to get this done.
All right, listen, we got one more segment to go. Hang on. When we come back, folks, I want to find out about not just the financial toll, but what this has taken, the emotional toll, what has happened to Joy's family after the passing of Mamie, and this story of RV in hell. Y'all stick around.
The RV Show USA. Start living the RV dream today.
All right, on our guest line from the Show Me State of Missouri is Joy Olson, whose 84-year-old grandmother sadly passed away just a few months after doing something that she was, was completely out of character for her. She ended up buying a brand new motorhome from Camping World when she couldn't even drive the dang thing. So, Joy, besides the financial disaster and stress that this has put your family in, what's it been like emotionally for you and your mom and your family? Tell us about that.
Short of devastating. I know some people would maybe not understand how having, a camper sitting in a driveway is devastating, but when you lose the matriarch of your family suddenly without warning, and you're left with her last kind of dream sitting there in the driveway that she couldn't take advantage of, and we looked at it for forever, it seemed like, and we're still dealing with this, and it is absolutely just devastating. I don't have a better word for it.
It's so sad. I feel for you. I really do. When we first learned about the story into the Facebook post, like I said, the very next day, Camping World came and picked up the motorhome and took it back. Were they snooty and snotty, or what was that like? Describe the dynamic.
No, they weren't at all. The two gentlemen that came were very nice. The one that kind of took the reins of the whole ordeal introduced himself. He said verbatim, "We're here to pick up the camper. I understand that you guys, that we're going to consign it for you." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Well, that's half of it." I said, "But first you have to fix all the damage on the inside and the outside before you put it on the lot." And he said, "Damage, I don't know about any damage. Can you show me?" And so, of course, I took him around the camper and I showed him everything, and he was in shock. He couldn't believe it. He, just like the general manager, said the same words to me. This camper should have never been delivered in this condition.
What about it? You even sent me a picture of the dashboard when you finally started the thing up. It had 500 and something miles, and the engine, check engine, or
needs
change engine
light.
Oil light came on?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so that was a little shocking. It was just another, it was like the cherry on the top. I didn't understand it.
Where are y'all now in this?
Oh,
I mean,
sorry.
has Camping World done anything to settle a deal, or where are you now? What are you doing?
So I've hired an attorney, and I am no longer speaking with Camping World. My attorney is speaking with Camping World. And that feels better because I really feel, it got to the point with Camping World where they were just completely ignoring me, not returning my calls, not returning my emails. After making all these promises about what they were going to do to try to rectify the situation, make our family feel better, they started to ignore me. And I got to a point where I had to do something other than what I could do myself, and so I'm being represented by an attorney.
Well, I wish you the very, very best. If there's a takeaway, what kind of advice do you have for people? What would you like people to know who may have an elderly parent or a grandparent that may not be able to make the most prudent decisions? Do you have any advice or thoughts?
I do. I have some advice, and I thought about that a little bit, a lot, actually, because if we had this to do all over again, and my grandma had said to me, just talking to her granddaughter, I'm thinking about going to look at campers. I think that I may have joined in on her adventure that she wanted to take, mm-hmm. and I would have taken her down to the dealership she wanted to go to, and I would walk her through everything, and I would make sure that the people there are walking her through everything. And I would look at everything, and I would make sure the people that were trying to sell something to my grandma were having her look at everything. I would make for darn sure that they put my grandma behind the wheel of that vehicle and had her drive it so that she could know whether or not she could handle the machine.
So stay connected with your family and be involved. You know, and you can be excited for them, and they can have that dream, but they don't have to spend 90 grand. And they may,
No.
in a nice way, in a loving way, that you could have probably saved this her from making this terrible mistake. So, if you had one thing to tell Camping World, what would you tell them? It'd be nice.
Right.
Be nice.
I know. Do the right thing. I think that they know, just out of conversations that I've had with one ex-general manager, the current general manager, the guy that came and picked up the camper, one person from corporate, all of them made me feel like they cared about our situation and they wanted to make it right. And so I just want them to make it right. They know how to make it right and what they need to do. They just need to go ahead and do it, and let's be done with this already.
I mean, think of the PR. I mean, this is a nationwide radio show, and I hope you're the only one, but I don't think you're the only one with one of these kind of stories. And just think if they gave that old thing called customer service, they really valued goodwill, how much better things would be. Listen, we're going to have to let you go, Joy. I wish you and your family nothing but the best, and thank you for sharing your story with us.
Thank you, Alan. You have a good night.
All right, you take care. Well, folks, what do you think? Do you think that what happened to this family is no big deal, or do you think that Camping World crossed the line? As I said, we really did. I called up, I invited Camping World, the general manager there in Columbia, Missouri, to jump on the show, but they did not get back with us. If you're listening, Camping World, Marcus Lemonis, who's the head Mac Daddy there of Camping World, we'd love to have you on the show. You've been part of the conversation many times here on the program. Not all in a bad way either, but we'd love to get you on and hear from you. So anyway, still ahead, we're going to close it out with something positive. Yeah, that's a change, right? Positive, and a couple of words for those in the RV industry that may be listening. My name again is Alan Warren, your RV wingman, and this is the country's #1 radio show about the RV lifestyle. You can keep up with us on our social media pages. Just check out our YouTube channel or Facebook page, The RV Show USA, and our website, thervshowusa.com. Be right back. Don't go anywhere.
The RV Show USA. Start living the RV dream today.
All right, Alan Warren back with you, your RV wingman and I guess part-time philosopher. I want to close out today's show by talking about something called goodwill. You know, for many businesses today, including many in the RV industry, it's all about the almighty dollar, the bottom line. How much can they make, and how can they make it even quicker? It's not so much about building a quality product. It's not about making customers happy that will return over and over and over, as much as it is about how much money did we make. While that may be a big plus for stockholders at Wall Street, I believe that the companies who are focused on the almighty dollar are missing out, and they don't even realize it. Several years ago, I had this friend named Galen. Well, Galen owned an RV campground in South Texas. Now, South Texas is packed with campgrounds and winter Texans. Galen's campground was nice, not nearly as nice as many in the area, and he wasn't the cheapest either, but there was something special about it. Something, well, just special, unique, something that wasn't able to be measured, but everyone there that stayed there could feel it. Several nights a week, Galen would have an early evening get-together. Nothing fancy, just simple. He'd have something cooking on the pit. Everybody bring a side dish and just hang out. I'm telling you, it may not sound like much, but it was magic. You know what? Galen loved what he did. Everybody there loved Galen. I remember one day that some of the folks that stayed there were talking amongst themselves about how this other RV park offered them a better deal, $50 cheaper a month at a bigger site, if they just come and stay with them. I mean, what a deal, right? Turns out not one person took the offer. You know what they said? This was so cool. I heard them say, they told the other RV owner, RV resort owner, but you don't have a Galen. And they're like, huh? They didn't get it. They thought that it was all about the price, how big their sites were. Think about that. Galen had created such goodwill that nobody ever left. They loved him. It wasn't the price. It wasn't the size of the site. It was the goodwill that Galen had created. You know, bean counters at corporations need to measure stuff. They like to measure stuff. Everything's got a number attached to it. They put that number, they put them all together, and they figure out how much money to make by cutting this, adding that. But I think too often they forget about the value of goodwill. If the primary objective of the RV industry is just to make money, the industry is in trouble. And I think that's why so many RVers are unhappy today with the new RVs they buy. RVers, for the most part, still care about goodwill. We still believe in people, like my friend Galen I was telling you about. We want to do business with good people, people that care. Goodwill takes years to develop and build, but by focusing solely on profits rather than on people and building goodwill, you know what? With social media, that goodwill can disappear in a hurry. RV manufacturers and dealers could learn a valuable lesson by understanding that the most valuable asset any business can have can't be measured, and that's its goodwill. Thanks to everyone who helped out today and was a part of the show. Until next time, this has been Alan Warren, your RV wingman and part-time philosopher, reminding you that the way we spell love is Time, and we spend that time with those we care about, enjoying the RV lifestyle. We'll see you next time, everybody. Bye-bye.
The RV